Hey, hey, hey. What is up? What is up? How are you guys? What is up, tribe? How is everyone doing on this lovely day? What's today? It's Sunday. Oh my goodness, I swear ever since I moved here, I just I don't know the days of the week anymore. Like it's just something you don't really have to care about all the time. So I'm kind of excited when I do. But welcome, guys. Welcome, welcome. I'm trying not to say welcome, Earth is School. What is up, y'all? I'm waiting for some of you guys to come in. I have a topic for y'all today. We have a topic. Can y'all hear me well? If you in here with me, then let me know you're here. Who are you? Where you from? I don't like this. I don't like this big old, like, really? I don't know about that. I'm gonna have to get creative. Let me put it on my bowl. Do this make sense? Can y'all hear me? Look at that. I think that would work actually. Without me having this big fuzzy thing just right here. Welcome, welcome you guys. Tonight, well, it's tonight over here. It's almost 10 o'clock. We're gonna talk about something that is a message that I've been getting for a really long time. And I get clarification all the time with my clients on this whole thing. And it has to do um, with us not going back in history enough. Okay, I'm gonna break it down. You know I'm gonna break it down, right? When I first say it, it might sound like I'm just talking about like, history, like his story. But no, I mean like there's this thing where humans just don't go back enough. And there's three different ways that I see this broken down. And oh my God, it's crazy how much this happens though. Like, oh my God. Um, I'm thinking about like all the different ways that I see this, but it has to do with how like a couple things. If we say on one level going back enough, I mean just in the past few weeks or going back even 6 months ago, a lot of us we will ask for something, beg for something, and be really afraid that we might not get something, and then we'll get it, and then we'll literally like, oh my God, like Robert Greer, he talks about this in his 48 Laws of Power too. I believe there's a chapter on this. And it's just like a human thing where you just forget it. Like you just forget the thing that you were just praying for and you were just like afraid that you would get it. And the reason why I said that I see this clarifying in with my clients is because most of the time when I'm taking a client, the first thing I'm asking them is to go back 6 months ago. You guys have probably heard me talk about how every 6 months there is a ripple or a shift effect in your life. And it might feel the same, but you be a completely different person. Like vibing with a whole new crowd, you got new friends, you done let go of some friends. Every 6 months there's a major shift that happens in your life. And so it's just this thing that we do where we don't go back. We don't go back enough to look at the last 3 months or the last 6 months and be like, dang, like I really was in a place then. I really was in a place or I really didn't have this thing that I have now and that's so normal to me now that actually wasn't a thing just 3 to 6 months ago. That happens a lot. And then there is the thing when it comes to I'm sorry, one second. No, I keep on knocking this thing over. My bad, y'all. Hold on. What was I talking about there? Okay, I'm sorry. I tried to read this little thing. Okay. So, and then whenever we look back, so that's one thing, right? If you're just tuning in, then I'm talking about how we don't go back far enough. And not far enough as in like it needs to go back far but we don't do it enough, right? We don't go back into the thing that we did not have 6 months ago, or it'll be like a mindset that you didn't have, or there's like a fear that you don't even realize that you had, and now you don't even have it, right? When we do this, when we go back 3 to 6 months ago, we are able to see a couple of things. You're able to see how time isn't real. The reason why scientists like Einstein and Nikola Tesla was always talking about time being simultaneous and it not being real. Just like in the Bible, I love to reference biblical texts, or religious texts. But just like in the Bible, how it talks about time being different in heaven. Heaven is a state of mind, but what it's really breaking down is how much time is not really what we think it is. So when you go back your life, when you go back a month ago, 3 months ago, 6 months ago, you are able to see just how fast a year really goes by. You're able to see just how much you actually progress. And the reason why this is one of the questions that I give to my clients is because a lot of people come to me and don't give themselves credit. Like a lot of people are like, I think we all know the saying that we are our worst critics. So we're really hard on ourselves and we really don't give ourselves grace. I see this all the time, especially if you're a parent, lots of women, lots of fathers. And so they come to me and they're just like, oh, I don't have this and, this and this. And then it's like, yeah, but you're in a totally different situation than you were 6 months ago. What happened? What were you praying for? You said that you wanted a car, like your car was messed up. It'd be these little details that we just completely forget. And that shows us that we're not living in gratitude and we're not living in the now. When you can't go back and remember what just happened, you're actually not living in the now. It would be the only time that I say, how there's sayings of like, don't dwell on the past, yada, yada, yada. This is when you want to think about the past because you want to pay attention to how subtle Earth is. It's very subtle. Like the experience of Earth, it's like it can feel like it's forever, but then also it feels really, really fast. You can tell it's almost like it's just proof of what a matrix that this is, because it's almost like a dream. Like it feels really real and it feels like it's taken a long time, but then you look at your children. Most parents, if you have teenagers like myself, you are not thinking that life is a long time anymore. That's if you thought that before, your mind has been changed. So when you go back and you can be like, there was a thing that I was asking for, or there was a mindset that I had, or I was devaluing myself in that connection just 3 to 6 months ago, or there was this thing that I was dwelling on that was like such a big deal to me, and it was like bothering me, and now it's not even a thing. When you can go back 3 to 6 months ago, it really allows you to live in the moment. You don't we be missing a lot of shit, y'all. Like, we miss a lot of stuff that happens, especially if you're on social media, which is why I take my annual break, because these kind of things, hey, what is up? These kind of things will just have you going through life by default. And then on another standpoint of why it's important to go back, it's just this subject that I feel like is like the least important subject to people, but it should be one of the most important subjects. And that's our history. Our history is important, you guys. It sounds like this is such a boring thing to even talk about. Why would anyone, especially someone that talks about like spirituality and, us existing in other dimensions, yada, yada, why would our history be important? Well, first of all, we are having this 3D experience, whether we like it or not, right? Like if you're here, you're watching this, you're in your avatar, in your human suit, your temporary human suit, and you're here. So when we don't study our history, I don't want to get cheesy on y'all, but it's really the truth of when it's like you don't really know what's happening now when you don't know what happened before. And like a lot of religious texts say, nothing under the sun is new. So I just feel like these are just tips of like being in the moment more and helping your children. Help your children to be able to live a life where they really know what the hell is going on, like the depths of things. Because here we are like losing our mind about the LGBT stuff, or even things like the wars and certain things that we see. None of this stuff is new though. Like there's things that people are really on the internet, like losing sleep, like passionate about, arguing with their spouses. I mean, it's just like because things feel new to us. But when you read about your history, when you read about the history of mankind, you understand the psychology of how things are set up. You understand where we are today and how we even got here. And to me, that's a tool. To me, that's a good tool to have, to be able to know what's going on because you know what happened. There really is a timeline of things that lead us up to this and things that have already happened. Like I can't think of anything. Of course it's more modernized, but even when it comes to technology, we think that technology is new. Technology has always existed since the first man or woman started a fire, whatever method that they used, and then they grew that method and it evolved into another method until they end up with the matches, and then from the matches they create the lighter, and from the lighter, like technology has always been a thing. So it's just us evolving as humans. There was a time when pederasty was a thing. That was adult men being with children, and that was a normal ass thing. Like it was just normal. I feel like I feel like when you know the history of mankind, it also gives you the ability to be more of a critical thinker. You know that things like the pandemic, it's not our first rodeo. This isn't our first rodeo, guys. Like there's levels to it. Yes, there's levels to it. You know, sometimes we can say, okay, yeah, well, there were things that wasn't exactly like this, or it wasn't that big, or it wasn't da da da. But there is nothing under the sun that is new. It's just done in different forms. It's like an artist, artists really get inspired from other artists, and it just goes on from there. And I just feel like when you understand that, then you see stuff in the world and you can focus on your mission a little bit more than getting caught up on the emotions of things. Like we are, especially Black Americans, we're in this gender war thing where men are arguing with women about how they had it hard or they have it harder, and women want to be heard and they're like, we have it harder. But these things are not new. This conversation and these arguments are not anything new. And it's just like, mm, what's not normal? What's not normal, sis? Absolutely. It's just like there's definitely a thing where and it's funny how we focus so much on our children learning like math and reading, although the reading scores, hold on, y'all, let me put a pin in this real quick because I'm not even gonna lie. I was reading the reading scores. I was reading an article about the last reading scores in American public schools, and I was almost in tears reading reading about the reading levels in the country that I am from, in the country that no matter what, I represent everywhere I go. It was really sad. And the thing that was making me sad, like it was definitely that the children cannot read, that so many children cannot read, but it was more so the thing that was really saddening me was our lack of critical thinking, like the way that we went through a system that we know did not prepare us for adulthood. And then we put our kids through that same system and we rely on it. Like, I'm not talking about whether you're capable of not, we're not going down that route right now. But I mean, it's like the trust that we put in a system, it shouldn't even be a thing where teachers are going on their platforms and damn near cussing on the videos because they're so frustrated with how much we're not doing things with our kids at home, how much we're just dropping them off at school and we're not actually involved, and how much they cannot read. Am I the only person seeing these videos? It was a couple of videos on the Shade Room in the last 2 months. And I remember seeing two male teachers talk about it, and I seen one female teacher And one of them was almost in tears, and they were just going off. They were just frustrated, Black teachers. And they was just like, these fucking kids cannot read. This is a whole thing. That's actually what led me down the rabbit hole to actually look at the numbers. And I'm just like, damn, the thing that really makes me sad is just how disconnected you gotta be. And I love y'all so much, I swear. But you gotta be disconnected if you went through a system that you know did not teach you about credit, did not teach you about how to buy a home, not even the jargon. I remember when I bought my first house, when I was purchasing my first house, the jargon, I was going to say when I sold it, but when I bought it, the jargon, I wish I could remember the words that they were saying, because so many things don't make sense. And I was just like, yo, you cannot convince me. You cannot convince me that this is something that is really preparing us. Because what the hell are they even talking about? They will make up some freaking words in the courtroom, y'all. Like, they be making up. It's like, oh, y'all didn't want us to get this. You didn't want everybody to just be able to just get this. Like, I mean, I had to go to school all over again for myself just to do that. So it's just like, we've got to be a real disconnected people, not necessarily, okay, like we're from the system, so of course we automatically would think that this is a right system, and then you would put your kids in school because of the work and da 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 da. But I'm talking about what saddened me was the trust that we put in it. Like when I see us, especially us, when I see us having situations with our children's teachers, and like the school has done a racist thing, and da, 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 and we get so emotional and we get so angry, and I just be like, damn, it's like, imagine growing up in this place damn near always being a place where you are hated for your skin. That's not a conspiracy anymore. It really never has been a conspiracy. But imagine, and then you're upset about a people doing what you know that the people would do. See now, and I'm a different kind of thinker. I'm kind of like, I kind of go with like Einstein's philosophy of insanity. So when I see stuff like this, it's almost like, are we really surprised? Like, that's, I'd be like, I'm shocked that y'all shocked. I'm shocked that you are shocked that your child is being suspended for having locks. Why is this shocking to you? Where, like, this is one of those things, like I was saying yesterday, I'd be like, am I really in the same dimension? Like, are we sharing the same world? Because this can't be. This can't be. So yes, guys, I just had to go in on that because we got to get for real about this. Like, it's so much deeper than math and reading levels, but since we're taking them there and we're trusting them, and we're even having these high expectations for a system that was never designed for you with you in mind, then it's like, what the hell are we really doing? Like, that's a whole nother level. And kudos, shout out to your kids if they can read. That's amazing. If they're on their reading level, even though there's no levels, but shout out to them. But I feel like we've been doing this illusion thing like we often do, and maybe we see like some post on the internet about like some kids that are like graduating and they're like getting their awards and stuff, and then we really think like, just like in general as a blanket thought, like a blanket statement, it's like a blanket thought that these kids are really like reading exceeding their levels, and really no, they're not. And that means that they're not going to be critical thinkers. It means that they're not going to be showing up in the world confident. And it means that they're not going to know themselves. It's a whole chain of events when it comes to that. So your history is important. I know that sounds like two different things, but it's the same thing. Yes, man. Oh, okay, right. This isn't normal. I know, right? No, I mean, don't even get me started. All the things that I am knowledgeable about, that I have been studying and researching over the last 11 or so years, there is nothing that has been more like chilling, traumatizing, gruesome. I mean, I can't even like think of the worst word that you can think of. Nothing has been more than that. Like, the study of the history of children. Like, it's an actual study. You can research the study of the history of children, like, and children in mankind. And this is why y'all see me talk so much about children in my stories on Instagram. I always say there's like this quote that I say. I just made it up, but it's just like a little saying or something. And I just always say, children have never been protected. Children have never been protected. So that's a thing. And I mean that on so many levels. I don't just mean that as the physical, sexual level, because I know just like with relationships between man and woman, when we talk about protection, we think it's always physical. But there is protecting your mental health, there is protecting your confidence. I mean, these things are really important. So, yeah, it's like the history of children in the world. That's why people can't tell me nothing. Because what? What? Like, again, this is why it's important for us to go back. Because when you go back, you know where shit is at. Like, okay, I wasn't even trying to rhyme right there. Like, when you go back, you know where shit is at. You know what's going on. And I speak to so many parents. For many years, I've spoken to parents that want to homeschool or that are newly homeschooling, and some parents that have been doing it for many years and they've been like overwhelmed and stressed out. And they just be like, how do you create your curriculum? Like, how do you, like, where do you get the thing to homeschool? A lot of people assume that I do like a program. But again, like, when you do your own research and you go down that rabbit hole, I mean, first of all, I believe that nobody can tell you what your child needs like you. There's parents that are not involved in their kids' life, don't really care about their education. That's them. But if you're a parent that cares about your child's well-being and their education, and which is really, without saying all those different details, if you care about preparing your child for the world, then yeah, like there's a whole thing with that. There's a whole thing where if you don't program your kids, the world is going to program them. The system programs them. I have clients all the time who are who have gifts that I can see so well. I can see them doing their gifts on a deeper level. They may be teaching okay, I don't know what happened. Internet messed up. But they're supposed to be like this big intuitive coaches and stuff. And they could just be making thousands of dollars a week or a month. And instead they, because of the system has taught them that you can't do this. Like you have to do 100 hours of this, and you got to do it, and we have to tell you. Da, da, da. So the system does program you. Not to mention media and other stuff, but you got to program your kids before the world does. If you don't program them, somebody else is. What do you think? The Who we are is made off of the programming that we had in our house and whatever programming that we had outside of our home. That's really what your personality is made of. There's a couple of things that come from other dimensions, you living other realms that we won't even get into right now, but the makeup of you, your personality, not your um not your spirit, but your soul, the being inside of you who has the personality attached to you is made up of the programming of you. Mhm. You got to know yourself first. I'm telling you, I ask parents this question. Would you rather, now this is like, people get so offended. It's so crazy. It just tells you how much they've made us like soldiers for the system. But if you had to choose, if there was just a choice, like you have to choose one or the other, would you rather your child be excelling in reading and math, like just excelling in reading and math, like they have like these skills that are really really well, or would you rather them know who they are and have a sense of self, meaning like, a sense of self is like you're roaming through this world confident, and you most likely, when you have a sense of self, you have a sense of a higher self. And a lot of parents get upset with this question and are really confused by it because the system has taught us that nothing else is more important than reading and math. And it's really crazy because the kids be leaving school and don't know how to count and don't know how to read. So what is the point? What is the point of the pressure? Like stressing out And if you're not implementing that in their home, why is it? Because of the school system, parents do not think that they should have a library in their house for their children. It doesn't matter if your kids go the whole 12 years or however the whole that and beyond. You should have a library in your house for your kids. Absolutely. Your children should have a space in your home where they can read. This is not about like the homeschooling thing. I don't even like to call it homeschool. To me, I'm just raising my kids. Like I would rather call this raise schooling, like raising. Like I don't know. Like I don't even like the term homeschooling because I'm just raising them. Like I don't like what else would I do? My oldest son is the only one that experienced going to school. When I was in my marriage, I was raising a son that wasn't mine. So he was a few years older than my biological son. So because he was in school, I I put my oldest in school. And so I have the experience of being a public school parent. I've parented. I did, I think it would have been like 2 years, maybe three, because my son wasn't old enough to be in school yet. So I would say maybe about 3 years, but he went to kindergarten. He might have did a little bit of first grade. I can't remember. I feel like in first grade is when I took him out, but he definitely did kindergarten, and then the son that I was raising, he went up to like third grade, and I was very involved. I was that parent. Like everybody knew me in the building. Okay, I knew that the son that I was raising as my own, he had like some attention issues, maybe some ADHD. The son that is biologically mine has Asperger's, had Asperger's, so he was very sensory sensitive. So especially if your kids are got special things going on, these are children that are highly intuitive and really need to be protected. Everybody in the building is going to know who I am, and I'm going to have your phone number. And one of the reasons that made me take my oldest son out of school was because they actually changed that. If y'all can remember back in like 2010, you used to be able to have the teacher's cell phones, and I used to be texting them like, what is because you have my child all day. This is what I mean. Like the disconnection makes sense because going back to the study of the history of children, you literally can see when the Industrial Revolution came in and parents started being fined for keeping their children at home, having their kids work with them in the business and stuff like that. It started to be mandatory because they needed people to work on the machines. So it became a thing. But you can see this, and you can see why we would go into the same system and feel like, even just without freaking thinking, like knowing that it did not prepare us. How many things did you figure out? And people be like, oh, what about social? Da, 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 da. That's what I'm saying. We don't even be thinking. Because why do you feel like, first of all, why do you feel like school taught you how to socialize? Like name five kids right off the bat that graduated and they're just like social butterflies. You just put these kids in the middle of a crowd and they're just running, they're able to just run businesses, and they're just so name a time that you went to school where socializing wasn't separate, like the jocks and the nerds and the cool kids this isn't socializing. This is not socializing. None of us be like, yo, thanks to school, I'm just a social butterfly, and I can just get out and just talk to this group of people and own my business and be like, none of us say that. Like it's something that no one ever says. So these are illusions. Your kids can go to sports, they can do activities with other kids. And I'm not pressuring anyone. Don't do homeschooling if you feel like it's not for you. It is what it is. But I'm just saying, I'm just giving the example because you can still be a public school parent and be a really active parent. So I'm just saying how much this system, this cycle, we don't even think. We be literally not thinking. Like, that's it. Of course not. It's not a system that says, think how many kids get in trouble for opposing their teachers, asking questions, questioning their lessons and stuff. What? No, that's not good. Absolutely. I am blessed. I come from a rich black family, black family. No BS, very loving. That is amazing. That is amazing. And I hope that when you say rich, you mean like integrity, morals, love, because there are wealthy families, lots of money, and they are trash spirits. So I'm guessing that you mean that as well if you even say very loving. No BS, very loving, because absolutely you can be a family with no money and you can have all the wealth throughout your family, throughout the way that y'all speak to each other and how intentional you are, the time that you spent that you'll never get back. That's amazing. I love that. History from American Lies. I feel you. History is important, but you must seek the best educators. Yeah, and it's like, for us too, for Americans, we get caught up in one kind of history. We really don't care about no other history. And this is so much broader than that. Right now the kids and I are reading we're reading the story of Geronimo. We listen to a lot of audibles. So we're listening to Geronimo right now. For those of you who don't know Geronimo, he was it's kind of like disrespectful because they call him an American legend, but he's native. And back in, again, an important thing to know about our history is that when natives when they were referring to white people, the white man is what they called him. They were they called them the Americans. It wasn't like a Native American term. They did not. That was a separate thing. So we called it Native American, but that's not a name that they gave themselves. But anyway, Geronimo is a Native American legend, and he was a warrior. And it's just really interesting to see because for us, we get a lot of when we read about history of colonization from European descent colonization, we kind of have this idea in every, like, it doesn't matter when they took over the Spaniards, when they took over this place, that it doesn't, I'm not talking about like exclusively Black American or American colonization. I just mean in general, any places that they've colonized. We kind of have this idea that when it happened, they just kind of like came in with all their power, and it was just like bam, bam, and everybody was just like, oh, we're like, we can't take it. Oh my God, it's so bad. And like, and it's just so funny how much that's not the truth. And I talk about this with the North Tulsa massacre of 1921 because that is the city where I'm from. I owned my first home on the streets where the massacre took place, and it's such a secret about what really happened. And if you look at the list, which I have read the list out loud of the people that died that day, it's not just Black people. It's a bunch of white people on that list. And the conversation of this gets so like emotional, and so it's kind of funny because it either gets really emotional for us, it gets really deep, and we're like, kill the white man, or it's like so on the surface that we're like, this isn't even important, whatever. But it is important because what you feel about the avatar that you're in, the reason why, and you can watch, there's actually a really good documentary that I love. It's called Whitewashed Unmasking a World of Whiteness. Whitewashed Unmasking a World of Whiteness. And I love these kind of white folk because they made a whole documentary talking about this and admitting a lot of this stuff. And it just shows you how when you in your avatar, if you are a Spaniard or a Chinese person or whatever, wherever you are from, ethnicity or whatever, when you are programmed with these stories that the people who look like you were conquerors and were all the inventors, like nobody invented anything except for the ones who look like you. And they are all the innovators of the world. You are going to show up differently in the world. Psychologists have proved this. This is like a neuroscience fact that you are going to show up differently in the world. So going back to what I'm talking about when it comes to critical thinking and confidence and going beyond just reading is and focusing on the same subject as the importance of us going back, because it's deeper than just a history thing. when you know what happened, you know what it is now. You know yourself more. It's just I'm trying to explain the best way I can, but you just know yourself more because you know what things really are and you know the narrative. So it's not even like it's deeper than the ethnicity thing. Like you should not just study Black American history. You should study everyone's history. The children learn about everybody's history. That way, you don't feel so victimized. A lot of us are victims. A lot of Americans, a lot of Black Americans, we are just victims, and we are just like we cannot accept what happened. We're just like, oh my goodness. And no, I'm not saying get over it or anything, but we aren't the only ones with slavery and with the massacre. So while we should get some reparations because we built the whole freaking country and yada 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 yada, we can go down that route. But I'm just saying that the history of mankind, the history of our world, so that you really know like what's happening in the world. Did I say that already? That the kids just learned about well, my oldest just read Anne Frank's. Yes. Okay. My oldest just read Anne Frank's diary. So he got to see, that type of really gruesome, horrible event of people being put in gas chambers and, all this torturous stuff. It's just, we just get a little bit too emotional about it when really this is just about being aware of the history of mankind and like how things work. Then you can kind of understand, like it was something in Geronimo that we were talking about. Titus, do you remember that subject when I was saying how I was like I was saying how you can tell that things are set up, and I was like, look at how things were different, and how it seems so different to us. I think it was the scalping.
Yeah, maybe. Scalping part.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So okay. Yes. Thank you. So I was telling kids you good.
But could you use the base?
Huh?
Could you use the picture of the base?
Yeah. So I was telling the kids, we're always talking about like everything is a teachable moment. Like I'm finding teachable moments all day. That's I believe that is our job as parents to find teachable moments that are real life moments, right? So listening to Geronimo, we realized that there was a part in history where scalping was just like slicing making potato wedges. Like it was just like a thing. And things were a lot more gruesome then. And so a lot of times when a king or a president or whoever would send someone in to get even the bounties when they went to get prisoners, what you would bring back is their scalp to prove that you really did handle it. And so I was just using that as a teachable moment for the kids to see, like on so many levels we can talk about how this is a matrix, but one of the most 3D levels that that we are in a simulation and that this is a made up place, because we literally made it up. We made up the construct, we made up the ideas, we made up all of our society, the programming. Like you can tell this is a programming because again, when you look at history, you start to you get this broader perspective of what things really are, because we live so much in like this being the only thing. Like it's such an illusion. So here we were back in the 1700s, and this was a normal thing. You would see somebody like you would know about someone scalping and you'd be like, yeah, okay, of course he's a good. But today you hear about something like that and it's like that person is mental, that person lost their mind, that person. And this is like just an example to give on how things change. And I went from there telling the kids about how there was one time in history, like in the late 90s, I can't remember the process, but women, how there was like one time when they were like, you can't set your babies on their backs, because if you set them on their backs, then they're going to choke or whatever. And then they were like, maybe 20 years later, you can't lay the babies on their stomach, because if you lay them on their stomachs, then they're going to do that. And now it's like, and then after that it's like, okay, lay them on their stomach. And then 50 more years later, it's like, okay, the babies have to be on their side, even though they had already said for those little 10 years in between that you cannot lay the baby on the side. So all of it is just made up based on mankind and our experiences and our evolution of, our ideas. It's really not like it really it could be it's even less subjective because of that, because they are programming us with what it is to think. Know yourself, study your enemy more. And see, even this is what I mean. This is what I mean right here, because if that's your perspective on it, then absolutely I understand that. But it's broader than that. Like we get too deep about, like, you can also not have any enemies here. It could also just be an experience that we all agreed to come here and have. And it could be. I'm not trying to change your mind, but I'm just giving you another option. It doesn't have to be an enemy thing. It doesn't have to be like such a big, deep thing, because throughout history, this is always a thing, with everybody on different levels. So if we put those terms on it, then the parents who are not about Black power and African center, then okay, we gotta take out 70% of, when it's really just a thing about just learning about the human experience. It's just learning about our history as mankind, like as and these avatars that we are, you know, because there's just so many levels of it. Like, there's so many levels. You can read about mass massacres and white folk doing the craziest things, and then you can read about a gang of white people that came through, like, slaying other white people for slaving. Like, that actually happened. It's so much broader. But if we're only reading for, like, if we're only studying and teaching our children our history for, like, one goal is to, like, teach them of the enemy, show them, like, then we're continuing, like, the thing of that. Like, it doesn't have to go on that level. And I teach my children to be very aware of Uncle Sam, or as the Native Americans call it. And this is another thing on that too, because I feel like during the what was it, 70s, Black people, during the Malcolm X era, the civil rights movement, we were like, the white man. And then it went into, like, if you were saying the white man, then it's like a bad thing. But when you read about your history, the ones who were actually saying that in the Native American books that are written today, they still be saying the white man. It's not even like a derogatory thing. That's just how they expressed who it was. So it's just like, when you just learn, and you learn with a broader perspective, you're really seeing what you're really seeing the earth experience for what it is. And things that you don't have to be stuck in anything. Like, don't be stuck in anything. Don't stay in the era. That's what I tell a lot of people that are going through their awakening. Don't stay in this, like, Muslim era where you're like, where you figured out that Christianity is this and now you want to go to this, and then like, don't stay there on that level where you're just like very political and you figure out, or like, then you learn about the Illuminati and then you're just like, oh my God, all the Illuminati, like don't stay in under any programming. Like, just keep yourself neutral and broad so that you can really have the experience that Source wants you to have here. And when we leave here, you're going to say what all the souls say, or the majority of them: shit wasn't that deep. You're going to be like, damn, it wasn't even that deep. Now, it feels like that. Okay. This is a feeling planet. We came here for that. But again, like, it's just about broadening our perspective. Let me read some comments. 45 minutes. I think we're going to end very soon, guys. Hey, Ellie. How are you? Knows about world history. You have to pick and choose. Nobody on planet Earth knows all about world history. You have to pick and choose. Yeah, I mean, of course, like, that's we're talking about thousands of years of people. So I would definitely agree that no one knows about all of it. But definitely what I'm saying is that when we focus on just, like, your culture and just what's going on there, or when you have, like, a motive, when you have, like, an intention, and the intention is not I'm going to free my mind. I'm going to learn about the history of mankind. I'm going to know about what happened so that I can know what's happening, because it really does show you that. Hmm. Yeah, absolutely, Leah. It's true, and that's not like, y'all already know. Like, I'm for our people. Like, don't get it twisted. But at the same time, I want my children to be very proud of who they are. They know that I how I feel about procreation with our own. I'm very Muhammad Ali with it. I'm always telling parents who are of other ethnicities, have your children watch some videos of um Muhammad Ali, and how he spoke about, it shouldn't be an offensive thing. Like, just like like he always used to say, like, the Red Jays want to procreate with the Red Jays, and the Blue Jays, if that's what y'all do, then that's what y'all do. But at the same time, all these other cultures, that's actually what they want to do, and that's why they do that more. That's why they are making more versions of themselves. And when you see stuff like these laws that are stopping us from being able to procreate, and it's not a conspiracy anymore, then yeah, like, we ain't even got to get emotional about it. It's just, we should definitely be, even whether your children choose to procreate with themselves or not, you just want them, because I mean, if we really get in deep and we really get in real, y'all, I have a lot of friends that are mixed, and I have this philosophy that people that girl that their journey was for them to be mixed in this plant on this planet, they have really hard lives as well. They have their own thing, because they are not accepted often from their white families, and I mean not accepted to sometimes a really sick level. Like, they have a lot of, if you talk to anybody that's mixed, a lot of them will deal with abuse and other stuff, and then they might be accepted to us, because black folk, we accept anybody, but we are also very hard too. Just like Malcolm X used to say, like, nobody gives us a hard time like we do. So you have this confusion, and then it's like, God forbid you have a either a mixed or a white, what you call it, a father or mother, and they don't care about teaching you that you still black, like, that you still, like, there's still things like your hair that you cannot change, or certain experiences that you will not be able to change still, because everybody is not seeing this mixed person like our ignorant selves can tend to see it. Some of us can tend to see a mixed person like, oh well, they don't have any blackness, or they don't have enough, or they won't have like a black experience. But that's not how somebody else that's coming from a different ethnicity, that does go with the one drop rule or whatever other rule, and they do see them as that. They just see them as a light skin or a mixed, what you call it. And some of them don't, some of them actually don't, because it's subjective, y'all. It be some people that just, we don't have the same views, or we don't know things of the same definition of things. So it just be deep. And I just feel like that's a real thing, when it comes to what we choose here, like who we chose to come here as. Mm. Yeah, see, this is what I mean here. This is what I mean by, because this is one perspective. Yes, this is a reality for so many people. And then there were like, believe it or not, y'all, people fell in love with each other that weren't just the same ethnicity all the time. And that's just really what had happened. Like, we can't even, like, black folk can't even talk about us being Native American without somebody bringing up the Native Americans not liking black people, and then totally ignoring the fact that there was a time that, or there was periods and moments and experiences that we had where we were breeding with them, and that was just a thing. So there's so many levels. There is so many levels, and I do think I talked about this before I took my break. I made a post about Terrence Howard and Billy Carson. And for those of you who don't know, well, I know you know Terrence Howard now, but you may have not seen the interview that Terrence Howard did when he was talking about him being really young and channeling, like myself, drawing the flower of life, which is this really like crazy. I have a picture. Oh wait, I won't get it. We just gonna do that later. But I have a thing of to show you like the all the little circles and the ace geometrical things, like something that you cannot draw when you're 7 years old. And he just like his insight with extraterrestrials and things like that. And then Billy Carson is a black man who people don't really know this, but he actually lost his family through the experience that he had with seeing extraterrestrial beings in his home, and he's been doing his thing for like 13 years. But there are like it's just so crazy how disconnected and separate we separate everything, because there are like groups of us. First of all, what happened with these two black men after Terrence Howard did his interview, Billy Carson been doing his thing, but I guess we started looking at Billy Carson because a lot of people didn't know who he was, and because it's just the only other black man that's really doing his thing on that level of those type of subjects or whatever. And so we just went in on this tyrant of like making fun of them. Like it was like a bunch of memes and gifs, and people were just like mocking what Terrence Howard was saying in the interview about Earth and life and all types of things. And then we were posting things about Billy Carson and stuff. And what I talked about was I talked about how one thing that I tell a lot of my clients who come to me who do root work, who are readers, and they might dabble in voodoo and hoodoo and stuff. And I always tell them how, and some people don't do that and they still do like what the Hispanics do, where they, give offerings to their ancestors and things like that. And so I'm always reminding us that because of us not accepting our experience as Black Americans, we really get stuck on one level of spirituality. And that is the level of what I'm talking about, like giving the ancestors using ancestral money, the Florida water thing, the tying of the cord, like all those the spells that I come from. My Native American family was a very popular hoodoo family, the Watashis, that I would not like want to disrespect or like it's nothing like that, because those things were needed and those things were actually played a big part in our history in America, making differences in things. Like a lot of people were banned to do that and stuff. But there is a level that we're so caught up. It's the same thing that I'm talking about with the history. We get so caught up on the emotions of like what happened and what the man is doing, that we don't really get to expand into other heights that focus more on love, the real thing of love. I'm not talking about external love. I'm not talking about being in love with someone. I'm talking about really opening your heart to love, and which is peace, which is acceptance, which is joy and happiness, which is the vibration that we all really came here to figure out. That's really what the earth experience is about. So it just, those practices, it's not saying don't do them. I wouldn't say that. Do what you're supposed to do. Everybody doing what they're supposed to do. But it's just like, allow yourself to expand beyond just that experience. Allow yourself to know how many individuals in history have had experiences like the ones that our ancestors had, and allow yourself to like elevate. Like there's other things taking place on the planet. There's other things outside of that those ancestors want you to get to. They want you to get to higher realms, and it not just being like a reincarnation thing, like the ones who were just here and who struggled in poverty. And like, you have guides, some call them angels, some call them source energy, that really want to connect with you. And a lot of us are just staying on the surface. And even if you are religious, you can still, if if you believe that God will not leave you or forsake you, and that you are safe and that God would not steer you down. A lot of you guys are really feeling, I mean, this year more than ever, I'm getting so many clients that are coming to me and they might be Muslim or they might be super into, the hoodoo thing or whatever. And they just really don't know how to stay grounded in what they believe in and then also expand their mind. And you can do that. Like, you should feel safe in what you believe in what your belief system is. You should feel safe and grounded enough to not be afraid if you feel yourself being called to maybe meditate in a little bit of a different way, or maybe to just expand outside of the traumatic experiences that we've had, just to elevate, because so many of you are going into that. And these kind of things do not allow you to have high intuition and to really go into source. These kind of things don't allow you to, you don't see talk of forgiveness and creating the life that you want and waking up every day feeling good. Like, you just don't, those things are on another playing field. And a lot of you guys are being called to go there. Mm. Natives were punished for taking side with us, melanated indigenous. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So many of them. We are all spiritual beings before we are black. Absolutely. This is it right here. Mm, mm. This is it right here. Absolutely. That's it. That's it, guys. We are more than just these avatars. And I think that most of us, no matter what you believe in, can agree on that. We can all agree. I feel like I say it all the time, but we can all agree that when a body dies, the being that was inside of that body is no longer there. The entity, the energy, the whatever term, humans are always getting caught up on terms. Whatever term that resonates with you the most, we all agree that that thing has left the body, and the individual that you, the spirit or entity or whatever you want to call it, that you truly love and know, is no longer inside of that body. So what are we talking about then? Mm-hmm. One love, sis, and every brother. Yes. One love. One love. Yeah. So I know this sounds like a lot, but it's all the same thing. Because those of you who weren't with us in the beginning, I was just saying that the topic is really about how much we don't go back far enough. And I was giving those two examples of what I mean by going back. I mean, I shouldn't say far enough. One of them is we don't go back far enough, and the other one is we don't go back enough. We just don't visit the last 3 weeks of our life. We just don't recap what happened 6 months ago. And so that's where this conversation is coming from. It's about us really being still and going back. Like, a lot of you guys don't realize how much you've changed since January. A lot of you guys are like not the same person you were this time last year. There's things that you don't even tolerate. Some of y'all is things that you do tolerate now, and you like, damn, I normally wouldn't have done this 2 years ago. But that's how this timeline is, and we don't go back enough. We like that's I was saying how that's one of the first things that I go over with my clients when they come to me, and a lot of them are being hard on themselves, and people don't really see. A lot of times you don't even see what you created. You don't even see how much you created the situation that you're in, or you have been progressing and creating, because you just don't go back. We just not even realizing that 2 months ago you was asking for the thing that you're fully living in right now. You were asking for that partner or whatever that thing is. Yeah. And then I was going in to say how much going back into history, um, what good that does too about your experience here in the avatar of you, you being able to know what's going on. And I thought about this subject. This subject actually came to me when I was having a conversation with someone, and what I was talking about was like a lot of the stuff that we think is new, like technology or like the LGBT thing that's all a thing now. Things are a little bit different. Things might be a little bit bigger. I talked about the pandemic. Things might be a little bit broader, but it's not something new. It is not new. Nothing under the sun is. Yes, many civilizations. So yeah, I'm so grateful to give my children an opportunity. If I look weird, I'm talking into my microphone. I have a soundbow microphone now. This is actually a good idea for a microphone, but I'm so grateful to be able to give my children a like different perspectives on that and to like raise them in an environment where they have the freedom to critically think and to learn, where there's no limits, like there's no limitations. I think that it really makes for the perspectives that they have and the different subjects and stuff that we talk about, which I have been thinking about starting a podcast with them too. You guys know Earth is School is coming back. I think I'm gonna do it like next month. I don't know. I'm waiting. But I thought about it though, because the kids and I have really good conversations. We can break down anything as far as like them sharing their theories and like what they think and different stuff like that. It's so normal for us. So I actually recorded one the other day and I was like, guys, maybe we end up doing this on a whole different platform. And maybe it'll help you guys, those of you who are parents who want to get your children involved. They can come on the show and the kids listen to a podcast. I think it's like a mom and her daughter or something. They listen to some podcast. I forgot what it's called. But they talk about a bunch of random stuff, which is still cool. We'll probably get a little deep. But yeah, let me know if you guys have any questions or any more comments you want to make. Please, if you enjoyed this video, hit that thumbs up button right now. Just push it. It's just like bam. It's just like free. It's so easy to do. I appreciate you for letting YouTube know that my lives need to be paid attention to, that I'm talking about something on here and I should be suggested. And of course, if you want to support me in any other way, you can hit that super thanks button. You can gift me, cash at me, any of those things if you want to support me in any way. If you like these conversations, if you feel like this is doing something for you. And if any of you are interested in a session with me, I do coaching, intuitive coaching, and theta mind therapy, where I take people into a different brainwave and we figure out stuff. I'm still trying to find a way to explain this really fast, but we get stuff done. They are having life-changing experiences and just changing their ways. It's a reset. And so, yeah, if you're interested in that, then you can email me. And other than that, you guys, I think we're gonna get up out of here. Hmm. Man, so much control in the world, right? I was just reading these comments, but it is our Earth experience. Believe it or not, I know we hate to think that we agreed to this. I mean, I know we just don't like that thought. But give yourself more credit. Give your higher self more credit. Don't stay in such an earth. Like earth is dense, it's deep. So we were meant to come here and feel this deep slumber and not feel like there's anything higher inside of us. You were meant to feel like that, to feel like this is your only life and to feel like you're so new and like things are just like you're just your flesh and your cells and your bones. You were meant to feel like that so that you can meet yourself back to where you were before this. That is the point. But yeah, that takes our growth and expansion. And that's one of the amazing, like I was going to post this earlier. It's such a phenomenon to me. It's always been like growth and expansion. And I know this is because of how long I have been channeling. I mean, y'all got to think about this. I was 4 and 5 years old, and I would always be told that, this was not my first rodeo. I've been here thousands of times. Many of you have been here thousands of times before. How this place is like a game, like there's levels to this. So, being that this was such a normal conversation that I would have with myself, with higher, with my higher self, and with Source, I grew up with a different kind of mindset. I grew up really feeling different and really knowing a bunch of stuff. Put in a nutshell, a bunch of stuff about me and about you. And so sometimes when I speak on things and it sounds like I'm being like this extra, like, spiritual woman, like she's like, oh, she's speaking like humans and da, 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 da. But I'm not speaking from just myself. And so the feeling that I've had, like people don't know, because even people that personally know me, they know that I've always been like this cheery, happy soul. And I'm like positive. I hate that word, but I'm not gonna say hate, but I don't like the word positive. We'll talk about that later. But people also don't know that life has been really hard for me, because I always knew that this wasn't the only life that we lived. And there were so many things that I didn't accept here from the very beginning. A lot of times when I would be getting those messages, when Source would come in and be like, hey, I'm trying to let you know that this ain't your first rodeo, and your mama and your daddy, they done did this before. And last time you was his sister, and da 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 da. And often I would respond. I was like 5 years old. I actually called my dad a few years ago to confirm how old I was, because I knew the house that we lived in when it started. So I was like, how old was I? But I had to be like 4 or 5 years old. And a lot of times my response was like, why am I here again? I swear to you, very often, I can't say how many times that I would respond with, yeah, but what am I doing in a body again? Let's talk about that. Y'all trying to tell me, y'all trying to tell me all this stuff about this person and this and what we doing here. I just want to know, I wanted to be a tree. I did not want to come here and have another human experience. I used to say, I definitely was well under 7 years old. And I used to be like, but how do I get to the point where I don't have to do this again? I used to ask this, and they would tell me, like, this is how much, like, people just don't know. Like, it's not even about, oh my God, it just gets so deep. But it's definitely one of those things where it just allows me to have a broader, like a deeper perspective and experience here, where some things are really amazing to me, and they really do feel like, oh my God, like I'm doing this again, like, or I didn't do this last time. So the phenomenon of growth, that's what I was going to post about earlier, and I probably posted about it before, because I be posting stuff and not remembering. It'd be a whole thing happening. But I was thinking about just growth. Like, time and growth is freaking amazing. Like, seriously, y'all, I do not be the same girl. Like, 3 months later, catch me if you can. Like, I look the same, I feel the same, I'm acting the same, my personality is the same, but it be different. And this is how I know, because I am only a reflection of you guys. So I know for a fact that it's happening within you, but sometimes we just are too dense. Earth is so dense. We came here to feel density. So it just feels so deep, like you won't even notice. It's very subtle, but it's a real thing, you guys. Oh my God. I just be like, what? Like, girl, the level up is crazy. And I mean, every year, I'm not talking about like my years of living here. I just be a different person. Like, I just like and it's because I go back, the subject of this live, I go back in time. I'm able to, I remember, I can feel like the difference. Like, it's not, so many of us are living by default. I believe that when you're not doing this, you are living by default, because you're not paying attention to the progress and the evolution of yourself. So you don't even notice a lot of stuff. And time is not really, you're not really able to experience time for what it really is. So it's deep, y'all. But I'm gonna get out of here. If you like this live, please, if you're just tuning in, thumbs up, share. If you feel like this was helpful, you can do all those good things. Let your girl know, let YouTube know. Yeah. Let me read these last comments. Breakdown human. Yeah, almost. Yeah, like star seeds, most definitely, right? Absolutely. Okay, you guys. I love y'all. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Come back tomorrow. If you're watching the replay, then thank you so much for still being here at the very end. It's 1:11. I think that's the perfect time. I mean, it's not 1:11 here, but I have been recording for an hour and 11 minutes. And yeah, NPCs live by default. That's we be NPCing, okay? Until you are living intentionally, you're going to sleep and waking up intentionally, you are living by default. Until you're doing what I'm saying in this live, like taking a step back and really like paying attention to what happened. Where were you last week? Last month, maybe not last week, but 3 months ago. All right. I love you guys. Again, I appreciate you guys. Until next time, thank you for rolling with a sister. Peace out.